Hey, what's up, everybody? Hitmanbk. Oh God, see, I did it again.
Let's
it's
just
totally.
let's
It's because of no. I'm gonna keep it. It's just because of my videos. I haven't even made a video in a long time. Anyways, what's up, everybody? I'm Brian. I'm here as always with Freddie. We missed last week. Um, and we kind of missed Friday's date, but we're here Saturday. It's South by Southwest was going on. Work happens. We always make excuses, but in today, this is always for fun. We always do try to get you guys a new podcast every week, though. So happy we were able to do it today. We have a lot to cover since we missed the previous week, and there was a lot of layoffs. There's just a whole bunch to talk about. So,
this
yeah,
is going to be a little bit longer of a podcast because there's a lot to cover.
I like how we
And
say
yeah,
that. And it's going to be like 40 minutes. Like, oh, we did it all. And how long was it? Oh, the usual 45 minutes because we talk so fast.
there's a lot to cover. We'll see.
We'll
But
see.
yeah, man, I'm excited to get this off our backlog and back into a rhythm.
Yeah,
South by Southwest in Austin is just it's a monster.
it
So
is. It is. And it took over. But yes, so we'll hit this intro. We'll come right back and we're going to get right into 2024 gaming layoffs and not in the way that you think. It's going to be different. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment everywhere where you are, everywhere where we are. Do the thing, hit the buttons. I love you. All right, we're back.
sir.
Okay, dude, hit me. What am I looking at?
So I found this really interesting website, publish.obsidian.md, and it goes over all the layoffs since 2022.
This
So
is 2022. So right now I'm looking. This is 23. Then what I'm looking at. I'll pull up
yeah,
22 first. Although these
yeah, it
numbers are
looks.
hard to read if you're, watching via video. So we'll tell you what some of these are. Don't worry.
But the big takeaway really is this website basically tracks all the closures and layoffs from the gaming industry, right? So
Right.
if you look at 2022, the entire year, it's they had about 8,500 jobs that were lost, right? And it goes over, who had the most, and it looks like Perfect World in 2000 and Microsoft were the two biggest
I don't know who
companies.
Perfect World is.
I don't know either. Let me see. Perfect World
I mean, I'm
is.
assuming that's just like a, that's like a, whatever, like a hub that owns a bunch of people, which I'm gonna
I'm,
assume could
I'm,
be
I'm
like Amazon and stuff because I'm seeing Amazon. I'm seeing no,
Perfect
there's
World mobile games. So they make
oh yeah, it is mobile games. Like 90% of what I'm even looking at on terms of
yeah,
publishers and mobile games.
Fantasy Jade Destiny Tower Fantasy.
Okay.
It looks like it's a Chinese company.
But the
It's a
big
CEA.
takeaway here is 8,500 2022. And then when
So
we pull 2023, our big
we look at the
takeaway is 10.5.
10.5, and it looks like the three top layoffs were Unity, ByteDance, which basically TikTok and whatever that's they own TikTok, and then Embracer Group because we know Embracer Group is the dumpster fire. But
Yes, they've been a
10,000.
dumpster fire for like on ongoing dumpster. They keep inheriting people and then immediately firing everybody.
Well, and they're hemorrhaging money, and there's actually some good news I'll bring up later from that. But
But yeah,
anyways,
so
for
that's
the
10.5, and then of
10.5 for the whole
course,
year, and then
if we bring up
2024.
the pain of 2024, which we are January, we are 3 months into the year.
Not even 3 months,
Not
two
even three
months and
months.
9 days.
Yes, we have
We
8,000,
1,000. Yeah.
8,000 people. So essentially, the entirety of the year of 2022 and 90% of 2023 has already been laid off in the 2 months of 2024. That is painful.
Yeah. And you're looking at, obviously big studios being shut down. Sony's going through it right now. I think the entire industry is trying to figure out how they can become more profitable. I think we're going to start seeing a decrease in exclusivity from third parties. I don't think it's not financially feasible for them to
Well, you got
spend
to rephrase
200.
that. Gonna have to rephrase that.
Why?
I disagree, but
You're wrong.
in a way, in a different way. It won't be exclusive because it's going to be on more than one platform. but I do think you're going to have a PlayStation exclusive game that will just launch on PC. It's not going to go. I just want to make
No,
sure that's like
I
that's
disagree.
just phased.
I
God of
disagree.
War, etc. is never going to
But
land on
but
Xbox.
did you hear my qualifier was third party? Sony's a first party. So I'm
No,
talking
you
about
didn't.
third
I
party
don't. You didn't.
games.
You didn't say third party. You just
I
said
did
you
say,
said exclusive games.
folks. No, I said
I'm
third
gonna
party.
rewind this
No, no,
and prove
no.
you wrong.
Let's just have the audience, right, guys? If
No,
you're
no,
on
no
here,
audience.
please comment and tell Brian he's wrong. I said third
Third. If
party
you said third party, then yeah, I'm off because I'm definitely thinking
because
first party games.
so like I was reading about Final Fantasy, right? Obviously, we talked about Final Fantasy. Um, their attachment rate on PlayStation is 4.3% out of 150 million consoles. That is god awful. If they
Yeah, but
can
they've been
double
doing
that,
it for years. I mean, like
right?
they're all.
Well,
I mean,
because
that's a weird one too. They might as well just be owned by. Even people are like, just buy. Why have you not bought them? Like everybody just
well,
assumes Square Enix, Sony, like immediately.
no, I know, but again, if you look at it's I get like the fanboy like video game console nonsense, but at the end of the day, Square Enix has people that hold their stock and they are accountable to them, and they are losing money like left and
Yeah.
right. They have
Well,
not. They haven't.
Rebirth isn't planned to go to Xbox.
No, of
Shoot,
course not. Well,
you can't even get it on PC. Like they don't even have a PC release date. I'm assuming maybe by summer
right,
next
but
year.
my point is, I think this like I think this might be the last exclusive. I just don't think exclusives are gonna. It doesn't
Well,
even the
see,
head
you
of.
keep saying exclusives, but it's third party. So, but if we're thinking third party exclusives, who
I
else
mean,
is there?
maybe.
I mean, who else? I don't even know who else is a third party exclusive to just like PlayStation or Xbox
I mean,
outside of Square Enix.
there's a few of them. There's I can't think of them off the top of my head, but
I mean,
there's
neither can
obviously
I though. Like I can't even think of a
no
big
like
one.
Resident Evil has like some exclusives.
Yeah, but
The
isn't
Capcom,
that's Capcom? Yeah, that's Capcom.
Capcom. I mean, at the end of the day, regardless, even PlayStation is gonna have to, if they don't make enough money on the PC side, they're gonna have to venture out
They
because
won't
they're
though.
not. Literally, this morning I was reading an article that was written. They interviewed the before Jim Ryan, the head of the PlayStation, basically said it is not financially feasible for a team to spend $200 million
No, I
and
saw
not
this.
right.
I
So
saw
like,
this.
and that's
That's why I think
PlayStation.
PC's it. But
Maybe,
I still
maybe.
think we are like we just talked about in all of our podcasts. We're like in the highest point of exclusivity contention between consoles probably since the original Xbox days, and that is just not going away. Like Sony's not going to give their first party titles to Xbox ever. Like and they'll make enough. I mean, ever
They
is you should never say never, but I mean not within the
they
next
have not.
5 years because
They
they're gonna spend 5 years at least seeing what they make on PC. Like they'll be like, all right, let's see what happens with PC. Maybe we run this for 5 years and see what kind of overhead we pull because
maybe.
Xbox also isn't gonna. I mean, you saw what happened on Twitter. I mean, the sheer idea that Starfield was going to jump over, people were about to be like, "I'm done with Xbox." Then, like, there is a significant player base
Yeah,
that
but
is
again,
not
it's
interested in that is,
those are not the majority, my man.
dude. There
Okay,
were
because
in 1 hour
some
of
rando.
no of Jeff Niley, who's huge in the gaming world, and his little deal that we pulled up, right? And his little what do you call it? You know, when a bunch of people can vote on something, and his little
Oh yeah, what about it? Yeah,
panel, not a panel or whatever, on what people think. They were
poll.
like, "I'm leaving." Poll, thank you. You had 3,000 people in under an hour.
That's a
Be like,
drop in the bucket when you
yeah,
have
but
a
that's under an hour.
billion
I haven't
gamers.
checked it. Like, I bet you
It
had.
doesn't. But look,
I'm
my
telling you,
point is,
you are underestimating.
I'm not
Now we're
underestimating
in it.
anything.
You always do. You always do. You
Okay.
underestimate
hmm
you underestimate how much people care about like exclusivity in consoles. That's a part of like
That
why people end up buying a console.
no, dude, it's not. It's not
Oh,
about.
this is
It's
good.
not. No.
We're gonna go off the rails, dude. You're
No,
crazy if you
am
don't
I
think
okay? So
you
you're
are.
telling me you're telling me that if a
Everybody's
console
about to hear it. Yes, I'm about to tell you whatever it is you want me to tell you. I'm about to tell it to you. So go ahead.
just shut up and let me talk. So like for me, when I look at a console, I don't necessarily look at there's titles. Obviously, like there's titles that sell the console. The console is not the end game. At the end of the day, like playing the game the way you want to play it, where you want to play it is where gaming is and will be. And there's the nonsense. Like, I think the controller, right? Like, PlayStation has a phenomenal controller. I don't think you need a console because for a controller. The games will translate well on PC, hopefully. At the end of the day, I don't think exclusivity to a plastic box is going to materialize. Why is Sony has, let me tell you, Sony has a 54 million consoles sold and their valuation dropped $10 billion. That tells you a few things. They're not making money off the console. They're not making enough money off their exclusive titles, and they need to find different ways to create revenue. That's why they're going to attempt to go first with PC to see how that turns out. But if those ports that they've done is the the quality of game that's going to be released, they're not going to make any money. And then if the PC,
they don't want to port it. Like they want. I think that's also why they don't have anything to show, right? Because they're more than likely with the firing of Jim Ryan, the reshuffling of live service, and then the success of Helldivers on PC made them like I don't want to port. I want whatever we're making first party, like from let's say Sucker Punch. You're also gonna make it for PC too. This isn't gonna go to Blue Point Games or whoever to be on PC.
But the problem at the end of the day, even with Helldivers, is that Helldivers is not a first party title, and they still get Sony only gets a 30% cut. Period. That's it. Out of the entire
I know
thing.
it's not a third. I know it's not a first party title. I'm just saying I would wager they looked at that and were like, "This is how it needs to be done." Because clearly, what was it? Last of Us was like oh my god, it was like a mess. Like
but the fact is that they canceled how many titles? I mean, we can go over
that's all live service, 100%.
Right. Well, that's the point, though. Right. That's the point. Is like they are in a
no. Before you take me off. Off charge here. I'm going to back to what you said because you're wrong. Like, yes, I will. PlayStation 5, they have not made money, right? Because they don't make money on their consoles. Like the idea was probably try to like, who knows what their idea was. And we all know that we all know that they ballooned budgets on gaming. But the reason they own market share in the console market is because of their exclusives.
But that doesn't matter though, is what I'm explaining.
It may not matter. You may not think it matters because like money wise they're hemorrhaging, right? They clearly the plan isn't working. But the optional choice isn't to go like, well, I guess we should not care about our box anymore and we'll make all games for everybody. And like that doesn't make because like why buy let me just say this way. If there are no exclusives are gone. People are like, you know what? We got to get rid of it. The cost of gaming's too high. Why the hell should I buy a PlayStation? I'll just buy an Xbox. Or even at that matter. I mean, well, that excuse is not going to work. PC's more expensive because obviously anybody right now should just buy a PC. Because if you want to play everything in the next 2 years, it's all going to be on PC. So if your Xbox and your PlayStation, your only differentiating factor is your exclusive games. That's it. There is nothing else.
So I disagree with you. You know why? Because guess what? People have preferences, just like phones, right? You can get an Android phone or you can an iPhone. They both have the same.
There's huge difference. Like the OS is what you're buying into. You're buying into the ecosystem.
Right, exactly.
There is no ecosystem on consoles, though.
Yes, there is.
Not really. You don't spend a lot of time, right? Like on the home of Microsoft. Like really, the box is there for you to play of your video game. You're not like interacting with it daily in the UI.
But that's not the point. The point is I'm giving you. You're saying that the apps, right? Because games are apps. You're saying the apps are the reason why people buy a piece of hardware, and I'm telling you that is not the case. I think the case.
Yeah, but your example's a phone, which doesn't count.
It does count. It
doesn't because your phone is internet. It's apps. It's internet. It's entertainment. It's a whole lot more. This PlayStation 5 sitting next to me and this Xbox are only for video games, and they're both. Not. Yes, they are.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Really?
What else?
You can't watch Netflix. You can't watch movies.
You can do that on your.
You can't browse the internet.
You can do not at all. If anyone is browsing the internet on their console, that's got to be 1% of the entire console because it is garbage. Right. And then in terms of apps, that's on TVs. That's on TVs. That's on your phone. That's everywhere. You're not gonna buy a PlayStation because you like the way Netflix loads up on it.
But let me finish my point. The point is it's the same situation with phones in the App Store, right? Literally in the App Store. The reason the phones make money is not because you're buying the phone, because Apple makes money and so does Samsung.
Yes, they do. Because their OS
let me.
ecosystem
That's not
owns
the
the
point.
market.
No, no, it's because
Yes.
the
Yes.
okay.
People, if you talk to anyone, this is totally off topic. If you go up to
Mm,
anyone who's an Apple guy and ask them why they don't go to Android, they're gonna be like, it's too complicated. That's it. That's the only
but
reason.
it's not though. It
Yes,
doesn't
it
matter.
is. There's been plenty of studies on that
Let
that we could
me
even pull up.
finish
I'm just saying.
talking. I'm saying the app store. My whole I'm not talking about the phone. Let me just get to the point. The app stores where where uh, Google and Apple make their money, right?
Right.
Because they take a 30 to 40% cut.
Right.
And that's what the console does for the manufacturers, right? That's why they have the consoles.
We're talking third party.
Yes, third-party games, right?
Yeah.
So third-party games, the console maker makes 30% on
Right.
whatever game. So that's they're making money there. So that's part of it. But to me, if your first-party games are ballooning and your adoption rate's not even 10%, 10% of the PlayStation market is 15 million, right? Not one game from the exclusivity of Sony's
No,
exclusivity hit.
I get where you're going with this. You're doing the business
Okay.
side again, but you're not
Yes.
explaining how are you going to if they get if I said theoretically 5 years, no more
Okay.
exclusives. Why in
No,
the
no,
hell would you buy a
I,
PlayStation?
I'm not saying no more exclusives. I'm saying exclusives are going to be a rarity. I think you might have the
Even if
single
it's
play.
rare, I mean, how do you? I'm saying, like, in your opinion, then, like, forego the argument.
They
How
would
does
have to have a.
PlayStation say, like,
It,
cool, go buy my PlayStation because X? Like, what is on there that I can't get on an Xbox?
they have a better controller. They
Well,
have
you know,
the.
Xbox. I mean, they've already announced, like, they haven't announced it, but the court documents shown that they're like adapting PlayStations. Like, hardware can be adapted. So again, like, what is the differentiating factor? Like, if you're a consumer,
Preference and ecosystem
yeah, but see, that's the thing. That's where I
and
disagree with you. A consumer,
evolution.
when a consumer has only, like, well, let's just say the average person doesn't have enough money to buy both consoles. They definitely can't afford a PC, so they're doing gaming based on a budget, and that's obviously going to be console, right? When they walk into a store, their decision is definitely catered to games. They're
I
gonna be like, you know
understand
what?
that,
I want to play
but
X. That means I need to own. You know,
right, but what I'm saying to you is that is definitely the mindset of the consumer. But from a business sense, it doesn't make sense for Sony. If Sony's not going to be able to compete if they have
well, they
one
just need to
bomb.
bring down. See, that's, I guess now I should say like what my solution is. That's just you just need to bring down the cost of video game making. They don't need to be spending $100 million marketing Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like that's ridiculous. I mean,
Well,
you could spend $100,000 and it would sell itself, right? Like a $80 million marketing budget for Spider-Man is absolutely insane.
yeah, but the even for Spider-Man, the adoption rate was under 10%. And the problem with Spider-Man and any Marvel title is they make less money on those games because they
Yeah,
have
it
to.
might have been, but like you add it to PC and you're making money. I mean, just look at like God of War and everything else does on PC. Like they'll make their money once you add this stuff to PC. I just think you
Sure.
need to bring down the cost. Like so, and this goes back to what I was hoping we would lead to. I did not think we would get in a console war battle that I've
It's
cut.
not a console war. I just don't the
We
to me
always disagree on this, and I don't know why. Because you're such a smart person. Like,
I am
but
smart.
when it comes to buying a console, like if you have to think, like you have no money, you have like I got $300, man. Like you're gonna buy the console that has the games you want, and then that is your 100%. Like that is it. That's the factor, and that's honestly what's hurt Microsoft. The only reason PlayStation has market share is because they were like, well, there's all these damn games on PlayStation I want to play that I cannot play anywhere else. And if you get rid of that,
Again,
there's
but
no
again,
competition either.
if you look the year over year for the last 3 years, who makes more money, Sony or PlayStation? Sony play.
Well, I
That's
don't know. That's hard. The gaming division, you don't know. We don't know how much Microsoft Gaming is making, right?
no, it
Like
does.
so.
They do it. They during the release during the. That's why the
Well,
FCC thing was
yeah, it showed that
FCC.
Sony was like banking that they were the number one
No,
maker in video. They held the number one
no
share in the two I think because
share.
Nintendo.
No,
Nintendo was one.
no. You're way off. They were the highest grossing, right? But they were the least profitable. The number one was Nintendo. They had like a moderately high gross,
Right.
but their margins are fucking insane.
Well, yeah,
And then
because Nintendo doesn't make $400 billion video games,
no, and then
which is
Microsoft.
again why I'm saying right. Like I guess what I'm saying, like why I say you're wrong, is because all you got to do is look at Nintendo and go, cool, like we need to
Yeah, but
not be spending
Nintendo's
$200 million on a video game, and there's no reason to do that, right? Ghost of
that's not
Tsushima, 60 million to make.
yeah, yeah, but I guarantee you, Ghost of Tsushima 2 is gonna probably be double.
It shouldn't
And
be though. That's the thing.
but the problem is Sony's, it's one of those like, a self-eating snake because Sony's first-party games are so high quality because they spend the money. If they don't
Maybe.
spend
I
the,
mean,
s-
are they though?
dude, I mean, I don't think
Like, how
so. I
much
don't.
did Assassin's Creed cost? Valhalla looks incredible. I don't think it was $200 million game.
Probably not. You know how much? So the number that really blows my mind is how much they spent. They did more. They spent 1.5 times more on Spider-Man 2 than one,
See, right, and there's no
inclu-
different. There's no
inclu-
differentiating.
in-
Like,
including Miles Morales.
yeah, see, that doesn't make any sense because
They
like there
spent
wasn't
two
a
hundred
yeah.
and fifty-nine million
Okay.
dollars on that
So
game.
now
That
we're agreeing. See, now we've made it through the forest and we're in the field. This is what I'm saying. Like I don't think any of your arguments are wrong. The only thing I think you're off on is that using the word rare and exclusive just I don't see happening because that's pretty much what differentiates consoles. But if we start
yeah,
talking
but
about like the real issue, and I think it's definitely the ballooning cost of gaming.
the ballooning cost of gaming, but specifically on the Sony side, it's not an industry-wide phenomenon, right? It's not
Well,
because
no. Well, yeah.
Spider-Man
Well,
2 was
maybe. Well, I guess we'll see how much Microsoft spends on all their, I don't know how
but
much Starfield costs to make.
yeah, but Starfield has been 20 years
Yeah.
in the making or something. But I think
But
my whole thing when it comes down to it is I think that there's going to be games that were exclusive at some point that become multi-plat. That's where the industry is headed. That's why the gaming as a service is headed, because gaming as a service generally means you want the highest number of players to spend the most time and money. That's really it, right?
well, that's an interesting question right there, because people don't want gaming as a service, right? I mean,
You
well, I
say
mean
that.
that's
You
hard to
say
say
that.
too. I mean, like
No,
they say they don't, but then they all buy in when the game is good. So,
well, no, I think at the end of the day, gamers just want good games, and if it's a
yeah,
gaming as a service game, then great. But
I think great. Yeah, I'll
triple,
support it.
tri-
Yeah,
yeah, triple A titles, I think that and the other thing is maybe it's a timed exclusive. Like maybe they do like a 9 to 12 month exclusive.
I would. Yeah, I wouldn't
Ev-
be surprised at that at all,
So I just don't think
because you
that
can win people over with FOMO all day long.
yeah, you can. But
Will this
I
be
think
on all consoles? Yes. Will you have to wait a year? Yes. I don't want to wait a year. I want a PlayStation. Okay, cool.
that's I think that's what Microsoft's going with their Sea of Thieves and all these other things, right? Like I feel
No,
like I think that's we'll see. I think
we'll
it
see.
really
We'll see.
right now we're in that window of like we're gonna test the waters and see what's going to be. If Microsoft goes and sells 10 million copies of Sea of Thieves, that's higher than anything Sony's ever first party game. Hi, Sienna.
Hey, Sienna. Okay, well, that's a good segue then too into like Sony layoffs, which I think we've talked about, because a lot of people are saying like, "Oh, this is ridiculous. It shouldn't happen." But me and Freddie have talked a lot about this, and I think we both agree. I think there's like it's a two-part reason, and this is not just Sony, industry wide, and it has to do with COVID. It has to do with like an influx of hiring, which I think I do think, and Freddie can really explain this better than I can. But just the infrastructure to work from home requires so much work and so much overhead that there 100% was a whole lot of people hired to cover that. And I really wish we could see how many of these layoffs too were tied to contract labor. Because like there's been huge layoffs in other places too where people start complaining on Twitter, oh my God, they just fired us all. And they come to find out it's like, bro, your contract ended. Like that's just how contracts work. Like when it ends, you may not be renewed. And that is the nature of a contract.
Yeah.
But people spin that like we got laid off. But in reality, your contract ended. You were not fired. But I'm sure
Well,
there definitely
it
are
didn't
people
get
who've been
renewed.
fired here. It didn't get
Yeah, I
renewed.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean,
then live service gaming, like taking the hit that it has, and Sony buying in on the what was it originally? 100? I can't even remember now.
no, it was 10 and 10 live service games in 5 years.
In 5 years, yeah. And I'm sure that like that ship like blew up and hit like a massive Titanic size glacier with the way that live service is being, consumed right now.
I think that the Sony's idea was that, hey, again, we're not making enough money off these, these AAA beautiful narrative games. We're only making under 10 million, selling under 10 million copies, which is less than 10, literally less than 10% of the entire library, 150 million consoles.
Right.
So gaming and service is a way to, make money. And I think the problem is they probably started all these gaming as a service projects prior to buying Bungie, right?
Bungie.
So
Oh
when
yeah. Or and I
and
mean they probably even started them during the height of like, oh yeah, live service taking off. Like, look, I mean, everybody loves
right.
it. Everybody wants it.
Well, and then on top of that, when you do something like that, like for example, I'm going to tell you, Fable may be terrible because the team that's making Fable has never done a game like Fable, right?
True. Yeah. They
So
do
when
the
you
Forza, right?
right. So like they made car games where you go in a circle and stuff. It's not like this interactive world where you and so like you're taking a team that is made specifically with people that know how to do first party, triple, quadruple, a narrative games, and now you're like, hey, by the way, we know you're good at this. Stop it and go do this thing that you've never done before. So there's going to be learning curves and all this stuff. So that time that takes to build a new game that's not something in your wheelhouse takes time. And then once you get going and you're like, oh man, I think this is really good, Bungie comes in and shits on your parade and says, this is absolute trash. You're gonna build this game that costs you $150 million and your retention is gonna be nothing. And so that's what happened, right? Like we talked about this. Twisted Metal was a game that would be, I mean, that's literally like Rocket League. Make it like Rocket League with Twisted Metal,
Yeah.
and it'd be really cool. But canceled. They
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 got canned
killed.
big time. They killed the whole
Yeah,
studio.
they killed the whole studio. They kicked. I mean, Sony had 900 layoffs, and they closed 2 studios.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
gonna pull us up to real quick. I'm gonna swap our video to the get off this chart. All right, there we go.
So, anyways, so I think that's that. Then Microsoft had layoffs, but that was when everybody saw that coming because when you buy another publisher, you're not, your publishing arm is gonna, reduce.
You're gonna
I
take a
was
hit,
actually,
yeah.
yeah, I was surprised that it was only 1,900. There's like 20, 30,000, employees at Microsoft for gaming. And then the other big one was Unity, but I saw that, as well. Remember we talked about
Well, that
this a
was
while
20. That was
back.
23. I think the other big one, 24, was
No, no,
was
they did it.
24 too. Oh, they did it
Yeah,
again. Oh, okay.
yeah,
Them and
they're this.
Embracer, right? They fired a whole bunch of people. Like Embracer, like
Yeah,
killed like full studios.
yep. Unity in 2018 and in 2024, 1,800.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, remember they were going to increase. They did that massive outrage about their way they're going to,
Oh yes.
and
Yes.
so they had to compensate by firing 1,800 this year and 1,800 last year. That's a
It
ton
could
of
have been tied to mobile games too. I mean, that's mainly what they do. So
yeah, but that Unity is the engine, right?
it
That they're
is.
not.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, man. I mean, I think at the end of the day, COVID, everybody had to really. I mean, we had record breaking amount of AAA games last year, like
We did.
record number, and so those games were probably 6.5 years in the making because during COVID, everything had to stop. They had to figure out a new way to communicate and work together, and it was new, right?
Yeah.
So you're gonna
And
you're
it's
gonna
it's
have to
kind of one of
hire.
those situations where you're like, well, thank you. The game's out.
Yeah.
I can't afford you anymore.
Well,
Like,
well, I mean, and not all those games made a bunch of money. Like,
yeah.
Hogwarts made a ton of money, and so Baldur's Gate, and so did but it didn't cover the cost of having, a new, engineer and a new project manager and a new developer and a new all this, right? So I think that, the it's just everything's leveling out. I
Right.
don't think this is it. I think it's going to be. I think the number is probably going to be closer to 16,000. So yeah, 16,000 I think might be the number. But we'll see at the end of the year. Last year was literally not. I think last year was the 10,500. So I think it's going to be significantly more. And as Brian goes out with his daughter, I do want to mention that like gaming is one of those vital things for us. We it's a way for us to explore and learn and play and turn off our brains sometimes. And I know we talk about these numbers, 10,000, 16,000, whatever. These are real people, right? Real people with real jobs that just that they lost their jobs, right? They lost their livelihood. And we here at the OGs really hope that all those folks that got laid off find jobs better, high paying jobs elsewhere. um the industry will grow. It just takes we have to figure out how. That being said, I do want to go over a few things that I thought was interesting from the layoff point of view. Some significant layoffs at EA where they killed off several high profile games. I believe the EA layoff, EA canceled, let's see. I think they canceled, I know they canceled the game, um, a Star Wars game. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. They canceled, they cut 670 jobs and they canceled a Star Wars shooter that was, I think, being built by Respawn, which is really interesting. Um, let's see. So yes, but the good news is, Jedi, Star Wars Jedi, they're continuing with that project. But I think there's several games, high profile games, that were canceled just because I think that the profitability wasn't high enough for a lot of these games. So that being said, I think, and we talked about this in Link before, Star Wars is going to explore other vendors, right? So EA had an exclusivity for a while, but now you're used to see Ubisoft and Microsoft and possibly Sony um make make games that are open to everybody. Um, the other big one that which is weird because it's a recent acquirement, Masters, who
Oh
makes
my god,
usually
kids are insane.
uh while he was interrupted, I was just saying Codemasters that EA bought, I think in 2022, they also experienced layoffs, which they make mostly racing games, right? They make the F1 games, and then they make the rally games for EA. So the industry is going through something, but we'll figure it out. Um, I'm excited to see what's next. So I do have a list of some really interesting stuff. Pivot while Brian deals with his daughter. Some really interesting news. I know we talked about Hogwarts. We're big fans of the game, and apparently the devs have said that this summer we are going to get a free update to the game. I don't necessarily know the details of what the update entails, but they haven't really done anything. There hasn't been any DLC or anything like that for Hogwarts, so we're excited to see what that looks like. Um, and then another big thing that I want to discuss is there was this is specifically for Sony. Stellar Blade demo was released, and that demo really was interesting because it was released, then they pulled it back and said that they took it off the uh the demo market, and so there are people that have been playing it and some people that are jealous that they can't play it. So speaking of that game, Stellar Blade is basically mostly nude women running around fighting people.
It looks insane. My daughter's
But
losing her mind,
it's all right.
and I don't know
So
why.
and right now I saw on eBay somebody was selling his PlayStation 5 with the demo on it for $1 million. So if you
What?
really want to, yeah, because they pulled the demo off of the market.
Oh my god, did they really?
They did. So I thought that was really funny. And then I was telling them that Hogwarts is getting a free update this summer. So um, another big thing. that I saw that was interesting is there was a big hoop ha about Sea of Thieves getting the Sony treatment of getting support for the DualSense. And I think my big my big takeaway is like, what you expect? Like, did you expect Microsoft not to use every utility that they have to make the game sell on PlayStation? Like that wouldn't. Of course they're gonna do that, and they get to mess around and figure out the mechanics. So when Microsoft makes their own controller, they can still they can reverse engineer Sony's thing. Um, Not that it's a good thing. Nobody should ever steal anything from anybody, right? Um, and then some other news, which is the thing we talked about prior, is Sony again doesn't necessarily own the studio. Deviation Studio was recently closed because they were working on one title for Sony. It was this team is basically the team from Tritech and Advanced War or Tritech and the people that make Call of Duty. It was basically some of the early lead designers created this studio. Sony basically backed them for they're supposed to be making a first person shooter. Obviously that didn't work out, but the founders were retained at Sony, so they are probably still working um, on some sort of title. So that's interesting. And I'm not really sure what that means for the industry, right? So I think there's a lot of times, a lot of the devs leave and make their own company to make their own games, and they have to get money from some sort of publisher or some sort of big named team that would, give them money to create something. So that really is interesting that these studios are being canceled, but it's one of those things where with every cancellation of a studio or closure, a new studio opens up and hopefully some new IPs come out of it.
Yes, you hope for good and all the bad. Like
um
me having to run off to save a child while Freddy fills y'all's ears with his wonderful voice over the last 5 minutes.
yes, I was trying to fill it with as much information as I
Yeah,
had
you hit
to.
him with all the good stuff that I know that me and you were talking about before,
um
especially the half naked woman game.
So let's talk about something really interesting. So remember we talked about AI, right? And
Yep.
how we thought AI was gonna like help create games and stuff. Well, recently, and I don't know where this was, but the CEO of EA basically said that 60% of future development will be impacted by AI. So basically, the anticipation is 60% of the games 60% of the development of games can be supplemented by
Oh,
AI,
I'm sure. Yeah.
which would mean, what does that mean, Brian? When you can supplement something with AI, what does that necessarily
That
mean?
means your job's gone.
Bye bye. So I
Now, a
mean,
lot of that is too. Nvidia's owner did a really good conference on this, and he had said, like the goal of AI too. I mean, like when it comes down to like programming, right? Like, so when you think about a video game, like a video game is literally just coding, right? I mean, that's what you're doing. Like you're coding a whole bunch of stuff to make a whole bunch of things happen. Kind of like Surfer said, yes, AI has been in video games because that's how they work. It's a bunch of code to make your characters do the things and how they interact. And a big deficit for people um, during the advent of all this and a lot of stuff was like you needed to learn code. It was like go to school and learn code so you can learn how to code, understand website design. There's a lot of things where coding is involved in. And he didn't mean this in a negative way as much as he had said like what makes AI so cool and what's really interesting is that like coding is a language and you don't have to know how to speak that anymore. Like you can now just talk like essentially Chat GPT is code, but code that can understand the English language or anyone's language for that matter. And so I'm not surprised he said that because like you just don't need to know coding anymore. You can go on Chat GPT right now and make your own video game like with no experience. You could pretty much almost tell it what you want to make and it can generate that code for you. So I can only imagine what that's going to do, when we're thinking about game design and money with $200 million budgets, right? Like for people like, I don't need to pay this guy I mean, no offense to this position, but you know, $100,000 a year when I could have ChatGPT check this code for me for, you know, $5 a month and have it done in a week instead of 6 months.
Well, it's gonna be more than that, right? So I think Chat GPT is more consumer grade. You're
It
talking
is. It
about
is. I'm
more,
just using
yeah,
that because that's the only one
yeah,
people like, you know.
yeah. So, but I think most, and we talked about this, like AI is not new. It's been around for a long time, but the computing has significantly increased, right?
Yes.
So you're able to take something that's repetitive, and instead of doing that repetitive task a million times, you can think about the grass in a game, right?
Yeah.
Each blade of grass has to be coded, right? So you can tell AI to do that, and they can do that in a millisecond instead of taking several hours of
Right.
code for
So,
all the places. So
and then
it
and
isn't
then you get into the whole NPC, you know, area and
right.
what you can do adding these language models into video games where all of a sudden now you've got, you know, NPCs that are, I mean, that literally react to you in real time. So there's no telling like what's going to happen in video games. And all these tools are becoming even easier to use. Like all of South by
Yep.
is about AI. And then like and every month something becomes even matter of fact, this entire conversation we're having will be obsolete to tomorrow. Like something new will, you know, I mean, like you could wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, the ChatGPT could actually make a AAA game right now. It's like, what? I mean, like you just don't. I mean, like literally, you don't know. So
I mean, it's gonna take a while because I think the problem with just AI is it's again a repeatable tasks, and you can put in conditions to make different things, but people are very specific, and
yeah.
there's something to take when it comes to like a personal touch from a human, right? A
Oh
human
yeah.
that knows stuff that maybe AI doesn't. Maybe it will eventually not. I know we have a lot to go over, so let's just move on from that. I do want to bring up a couple of high level things. Ghost of Tsushima 2 may show up in the May or June Sony showcase, which is awesome.
That'll be
Um,
fun. I mean, that's
and
a
then
very anticipated game.
yes, and then I want to ask you: would you rather go with the good news or bad news first?
I want the bad news.
Bad news: Warner Brothers moves away from AAA games. They want to go all
No, this
in.
is I was gonna segue to this when we were talking about when we were talking about Hogwarts because somehow, and we all know I like Suicide Squad, but I mean, like, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you Suicide Squad wasn't a fail. It's got to be a commercial failure. I mean, I doubt it made its money back. We'll see what happens at the end of the year. I'm excited that they're clearly going to continue to make stuff for it because WB, whoever's running WB, is smoking some real good hashish. Because this man basically came out and said, like, yeah, I get it. Like, Hogwarts was the best-selling game in 2023. I have a genius idea. Let's make the sequel a live service game. You know, but this isn't new. They came out multiple times, like just like Sony. Although a lot of people thought they would change their mind, but just like Sony, well, I don't even know. 6 months ago, like WB was like, we're going all in on live service. Like that's where we see the future. Like we want to take our. I mean, essentially, they straight up said, I want to take my IP and I want to drain it for every penny that it's worth. So
When we talked about this, right? Warner Brothers is hemorrhaging money. Like we talked, all these companies that are making these poor decisions are hemorrhaging money. I mean, Warner Brothers is canceling stuff left and right, right? They just closed out Rooster Teeth. Studio's been around for
they
21
did
years,
21
and
years.
and then they're it's Warner Brothers is a complete shit show. Like their movies are terrible because they don't know how to do it right. They're trying to.
You could really say the entertainment industry right now it's all living off a model created like in the late 80s early 90s. I mean literally, and they haven't changed, and we're
The
in the
only
20, you know, we're in the 2020s, like, and they're paying for it now.
Well, and you have to just look at like things like Netflix, right? They make new IPs all the time,
Yeah,
and they're investing all the time in new
they
IPs
practically
because
print new IPs.
well, and it's because it's cheaper to make a new IP than continue with an old IP.
I just ate a packet so I can have chocolate.
Oh, wonderful. And we just ate a packet so we can have, you want some chocolate?
Chocolate.
Chocolate? Go get some chocolate. Go follow Summer to
It's
chocolate.
a
Yeah.
The new bag.
Yeah. Go get the chocolate.
So yeah, I mean, I just don't know what Warner Brothers if they have multiple bombs, I think the studios are going to be sold off.
Yeah.
Discovery,
Yes,
Warner
I
Brothers
don't
is just
see it
not doing
winning.
it.
I don't see that. I don't see that working. I don't. I like Suicide Squad. There are some live service games I enjoy. I think the general idea is good. I think I think that like what you said though, like it works better when the game is free to play.
Well, so I just don't understand Warner Brothers, right? Like, let's just go into the details here, right? So Warner Brothers is very much in the same boat as Disney, right? They have a ton of IP, and they can make a ton of money if they just lease out their IPs. Like that's what one. I mean, literally, Sony. I mean, Marvel and Star Wars print money for Disney because they are letting EA make a Star Wars game. They're letting Sony make a Star Wars game. They're letting Microsoft make a Star Wars game. They're letting Sony make a Spider-Man game. They're making a Wolverine game. These are all non first party titles, right? They're IP and they make money either way. So I really think Warner Brothers needs to just follow the Disney model and just let other people make their games for them and just get paid.
Oh
Like
yeah, just get
why?
out of publishing.
Yeah, like there's no. I mean, maybe you keep the Warner Brother, the
Do
Hogwarts one.
they own the studios too? I guess too because it's WB
Yeah,
Studios. So
yeah. Well, they own the IP and the studio, so they're trying to basically minimize their costs. But at the end of the day, you can make. I mean, that's what Lucas Art no longer makes
oh yeah,
game.
they don't even make
Disney,
anything. It's just a
no,
logo now. They're like
right. So, but what I'm saying
they
is
just
like
cash checks.
seriously, like you look at EA. EA basically makes Sony Star Wars games. So does Microsoft. So does Ubisoft. And guess who gets paid? Disney. Same thing with Marvel, and same thing with any other IP. And Warner Brothers has a shit ton of IP, dude. Like think of it if somebody made a Constantine game, right? Or a Green Lantern game, or a you know well, you talked about Batman, but there's a ton of IP. Indiana Jones is an IP that's a Disney IP.
It is,
But
yeah. That Microsoft is essentially,
yeah,
yeah.
but that's what I'm saying is I think again, Microsoft's making a Blade game and making a Indiana Jones game, and guess who gets paid? Disney. So Warner Brothers. I get the gaming as a service. That's a very happy baby.
Oh yes. Well, we'll probably have to cut it here in a minute so I can just chase these chicolets around everywhere. That's
but yes.
gum in Spanish.
So I think that's the model. And then I want to say, are you familiar with Gearbox
Yeah, dude. Are you
Studios?
serious? The
Right.
garbage video game. I mean, amazing video game turned what looks like the world's worst movie with every actor under the sun in it with Borderlands. Ooh,
Yeah,
yummy
so
oatmeal bar. I can't believe
apparently
Kate Blanchett's going to be in this movie too. It's wild.
well, I'm not even talking about the movie. I'm talking about the studio itself is officially being sold off to an unnamed company.
I'm not
Embracer
surprised.
selling them, which I think is a really because I think Gearbox is basically saying you're either going to sell us, you're going to cut us loose, or you're going to make be partners and give us money.
Yeah.
And Embracer's like no.
They make good game. I mean, they have Borderlands and they even have they're behind another really good game that
Gearbox. I don't know what they actually. I know they make.
It's all Borderlands, and then but they also did. It might be Outriders. No,
So they did. No, so here I'm on the website. So they made Borderlands,
Yeah.
Tiny Tina.
There's a new one though. That's something that just came out. That's actually I thought was really good, and they're the publisher for it. I can't remember.
Where are their games? I can't. They're like their website sucks.
Oh
Show
yeah,
me your
dude.
games.
He and
Show
Randy
me-
Pitchford has been all about like he's just been like buried deep in making this the Borderlands film.
Oh, so they made Duke Nukem 3D, Borderlands. Brothers in Arms. I remember that game. Duke Nukem, Half-Life. They made all the Half-Life games.
Yeah, but there's one that just came out, and even I was like, oh dang it. Oh, Remnant. They own Gunfire Games.
They own Gunfire Games.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah, they're the Gearbox Publishing, which is different than Gearbox. Gearbox Publishing published Remnant 2, Risk of Rain,
Oh, okay.
Homeworld 3. Like, I mean, I don't know some of these games, but Risk of Rain I know is big. But Remnant, yeah, Gunfire Games is published by Gearbox.
Yeah, I don't. So Gearbox Software and Gearbox Games is the same.
Yes, it's the same. Just the one
It's
is
just the publishing arm.
one's the publishing arm, the other one is the actual developer for those games. They actually make Borderlands, etc.
Okay. Well, let's end it off with some interesting, cool stuff, and then we
Yes.
can kill it off.
Okay,
Okay.
so-
So we have a few things that I thought was interesting. So Netflix, we talked about Netflix earlier. They're making some crazy TV shows. So Watch Dogs is become. Hi, Sienna. Watch Dogs is they're making a Watchdog movie. Netflix is also making an Assassin's Creed TV show and The Division, which I think The Division is really cool. I think that would be a really cool show. And then really at the end of all this, the new trailer for the Fallout. Brian, if you can possibly pull that up.
Oh my gosh, I love that trailer.
The new trailer for Fallout is so freaking good. It looks like they spent the money and they did the research, and the fact that it's the director and the production company behind West. I think the production company. I might be wrong, but I know the director and I think the creator of Westworld is the leading person for Fallout. Just shows how freaking awesome it really is. It looks so freaking good. I'm just very, very excited about this. And it's a rarity that somebody really gets it. So fingers crossed that we get exactly what we hoped when it comes to Fallout.
Yeah, well, and Todd Howard's behind it too, kind of like Randy Pitchford. For anyone who's watching, by the way, I'm sure you're laughing at how often I'm just like, boom, I'm back in, and I'm just like talking. If you're not watching, it's mainly because my daughters were going a little crazy. We actually never record when they're here or awake, and this is the reason why. But you know what? You do what you got to do. Yes, but just like Randy Pitchford, I think it's Pitchford, not Pitchfork, was heavy into the
Last of Us.
No, for Borderlands, was heavy into the Borderlands movie, although it's probably a bad example because that movie honestly looks horrible. Todd Howard was like working hand in hand with Jonathan Nolan on Fallout. So
yeah, that looks. I mean, Fallout just looks so freaking good, dude. I watched it yesterday and I was like, oh my god, this is actually looks like they really built this world up, which is just awesome.
So yes, that's cool. What's your hot take? My dad advice is good luck because I got nothing.
Hot take, I think, is that plastic box that you're in love with.
Oh my god, I'm not in love with it. You know what? No one's gonna have made it this far, and I meant to say it. Well, that's just me. For anyone who does make it this far, what I meant to say earlier too is I hate console wars. I think it's bad for gamers. I don't think anybody wins with exclusivity. It's annoying. It took forever to get to cross-platform, and a lot of that has to do with exclusivity. And the way Sony and it's just ridiculous. There are still games that come out and I can't play with buds. Like that's just insane to me. So I'm not a fan of it. But the realist in me and where we are right now is that is just how these consoles, like that's just the nature of the business. Doesn't mean it's not going to change. I don't see it changing anytime soon though. I have to open up this yogurt. So my hot take is that I actually have a pretty good hot take here. She has a spoon. Hi. Can you say hot take?
Hi.
Say hot take.
Hi.
That's not at all what I'm asking you to say. Okay. Thank you.
Oh man,
Suicide Squad next year is gonna be in the red. Is that the right word?
the red is in. You mean the green? The
green.
the black,
And
the black.
The black, is it the black? Is that what they
Yeah.
say? What's the business term?
Red is negative. Black
Okay.
is positive.
It'll be in the positive.
Well, let me just ask you real quick. I know you have to go, but when it comes to what do you think needs to change for that
Look at
game?
all
To, I
the
mean,
boogers on my shoulder.
that's gross. What needs to happen to that game?
I only say that because in 1 year it'll actually be a playable game. I mean, in 1 year there'll be so much content on that game that I think people will be like, "Oh, damn, this is really good." I think I said this right when it came out. The game has bones. The problem is they built it with live service literally in its DNA, in a not good way. Almost like Skull and Bones did too, where your base game is kind of the shell of the game, and every 6 weeks or every season, you're gonna have like a substantial amount of content dropped into this game. And I think within 6 months, so when we're going into season 3, people will be buying into this and being like, "Oh man, this is actually," because all the season stuff is free, right? And a lot of this is like the Helldivers thing. 6 months from now, 3 seasons in, game's going to be on sale for $39. Everybody's going to buy it because it plays well. There's going to be if I'm on season 3, there'll be 4 Elseworlds. So there'll be 4 whole new metropolises to explore. There's going to be 2 new characters, with the 3rd one coming. There's probably going to be PvP if this sticks. Like all of a sudden, you're gonna have people saying like, "Why was this not the game that was released?" And a lot of it is because, well, that's the unfortunate side of live service. Is a lot of times if you buy in early, you're basic. It's like sometimes I honestly think that when somebody comes out with a game, they say, "Hey, this is going to be live service." It's like the console way of saying, "Oh, hey, do you want early access?" Because this happens all the time on Steam. And you have to pay for it. Sometimes you got to pay like last Epoch, you could pay $39 a year ago and buy the game, and it was early access. But they don't say that on consoles. They're like, "Hey, here's a $70 game. It's live service." In reality, it's like, "Oh, hey, here's a $70 game. Would you like early access?" So that's why I think in 1 year they might actually break even and have a pretty, assuming WB sticks with it, a pretty good live service shooter game in the DC universe.
I'm going to change my hot take. I think a hot take, piggybacking on what you said. I think by the end of season 2, because we're going into season 2.
We're going
right?
into season 1 of
Okay.
Suicide Squad.
So by the end of season 2, I believe that this game will be on both the PlayStation and the Microsoft Game Pass and PlayStation Plus. I think it's a no-brainer.
I think it's a no-brainer. Yeah, it would. Yeah.
It would just print money because it's a free game that has the bones. But if you want to get the story, give me $30, right? Or give me whatever, even $19. Your install base. Think about the install base. That's what I'm saying. Like the install base pays you $30. There's like,
well, you would get all the seasons for free. You get the whole game for free, and people would spend the store. If they get the store going too, they don't have the store going. There's only been two new things in this store, which I do not understand, given that that's the only way they make money.
Wait, so the seasons are all free?
All free, and the characters forever and ever. Their model is clearly to get people purchasing skins.
Yeah, monetize the skins and stuff.
But their skins are like they've only added one, and we don't know what the battle pass looks like. But I could 100% see that season 2. You can battle passes, which you'll be able to back purchase them too. They're not going away. So game hits Game Pass. Why would you not download it for free? You play it, you like it, then you're like, well, you know what? This was free. Let me hit the store of what kind of oh wow, I really like seasons 1 battle pass. Here's the $15 for the battle pass. Let me start working on that. Earn those skins, and you're gonna. I 100% think they end up breaking even. But the funny thing is, it'll be because the game was free to play and it worked. And assuming the microtransaction store works, there's good skins for people to purchase. That's how Fortnite does it. I mean, that's literally it.
I think that if you want to go gaming as a service, make the game free to play with. And I disagree. Actually, I think seasons should be paid for.
I think so too.
If you buy the season, it comes maybe with the
characters.
With the characters, and it comes, and then you can get a discount on the.
There were so many better ways to model this game. This game would have been a wild success if it came out free to play.
Oh my goodness!
And then you bought into a battle pass or a season pass to get the characters. People would have like for $30 or $29.99. I think it would have. Oh my god! I think it would have like sold a bajillion dollars.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about it. If there was just instead of a 15-hour game, maybe it was a 10-hour narrative game, and then right when you finish, boom, season 1's already out. Pay me $30.
And if there's PvP coming in season 1, it should have launched with that, like because that's how you keep people playing, anyways. So that's my
Anyways,
hot take. We'll see.
that advice, or just advice in
I got
general,
none.
like
Clean your
yeah,
shirts. I got a lot of boogers on mine.
avoid getting snot on your shirts. No, make some time for if you have a wife or a girlfriend or whatever. Like, don't forget what it was like before you had that person, good or bad. Either way, you make some time to invest in your relationship, because a happy wife usually means what, Brian?
Happy life.
Anyways,
my
all right.
wife. All right. Anyways, ooh, we probably shouldn't do that. Okay.
I'm Middle East, so I can do whatever I want. Actually, you're
All right.
half too. You're
I
happy.
am.
Anyway.
I am. All right, cool,
All right,
man.
guys,
Well, this
well-
was entertaining, both
You like
the
my
podcast
shirt?
and everything that was going on during the time. Thank you all for sticking with us. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, support. We love you all, and we will see you next week. We will be here Thursday, back on time. South by Southwest is over. Freddie doesn't need to go to Houston. Tires are on cars, and life is good.
Don't
Until
forget
next
to
time.
follow us on Spotify and
Yes.
Apple Music and all the places.
And here
Thank you.
is your last intro, outro, intro.
Peace.